The recent arrest of Jerome Dallas Hopkins on multiple felony burglary charges is an excellent example of law enforcement agencies working together across both state and county lines to find and arrest their suspect. By sharing surveillance videos with one another, officers in 6 different cities were able to determine that Hopkins was allegedly responsible for multiple crimes, and he's now being held in the Oklahoma County Jail. Increasing that kind of cooperation between agencies is the topic of this week's in-depth conversation with moderator Susan Cadeau and her panel of guests.
Thank you. This is something I always think about because I love watching crime dramas on TV, and there's always that little "don't come into my districts" and some turf attitudes. But we've got the real deal here to tell us how this works, and they've actually shown us how it can work successfully. Let me introduce them to you right now. We have Oklahoma County Sheriff Tommy Johnson. We have Elk City Police Detective Vanessa Cole and Elk City Chief of Police Eddie Holland. Thank you 3 for being with us.
Thank you.
Detective Cole, I want to start with you. There has recently been a case that you were instrumental in solving. And I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about this case before we begin. It's Jerome Hopkins?
Correct. So on December 21st, around 6 a.m., I received phone calls from our patrolman saying that we had a burglary at one of our restaurants. I went out to that restaurant, and before, I would say within a 2-hour gap, we had 5 Mexican restaurants and businesses, 5 total, that had been burglarized that morning, which is very odd for 5 in a row to be hit like that. We had video footage from almost all of the businesses of an individual that had come in, literally was there within 5 minutes in and out. The MO was the same. He'd break in the windows, crawl in, crawl out, and went to the next. With this being said, we didn't have a whole lot to go on from there. So we posted it on Facebook, a picture of this person. Within a couple weeks, one of our patrolmen said, "Hey, have you seen Kingston Police Department's Facebook?" We went over and looked, and it was the same individual. The same MO, the same clothes, the same person. So I contacted Kingston Police Department, and we exchanged different, what I knew, what they knew, and we almost had a snowball effect. Fort Smith, Arkansas contacted me. I was just one of many agencies involved in this, that he had gone to different areas of Oklahoma and different states.
Chief, I want to come to you really quickly. I want to talk about how important communication is, but it sounds like communication was done on this via social media. Have you seen interdepartment communication change over the past decade?
I've seen a recognizable change in communication between departments after the Oklahoma City bombing and the 9/11 World Trade Center. We're losing a brotherhood. Before that, we regained a brotherhood. After that, we realized no one's an island. Criminals don't recognize city limits or county lines. The people across the county, people across this state, we're all doing the same job. We're all looking for the same results. We don't believe in turf out here. We believe in teamwork. And that's what we preach. And that's a prime example of what you're talking about with Hopkins.
Well, Sheriff, let me come to you. We were talking earlier about, baptism by fire and all the things you've had to deal with since coming on the job. How is communication? How does the Sheriff's Department, Oklahoma County Sheriff's Department, view communication with other agencies?
Well, I think that's the foundation on one of the pillars I ran on was, positive partnerships. Because like what Chief said, there's no islands here. Nobody can just claim turf anymore because you see these offenders going to every different area and every different location in different jurisdictions. And so if you're protective of information, things are going to fall in the gap. Just like this case, look how many cases and how many jurisdictions really were able to get vindication from one post on Facebook, just sharing that information. And that's the positivity behind it. I mean, Chief has said it all. We're pulling from the same rope. We're all trying to get the same outcomes, and that's keep our community safe.
Well, that's not in line with what I see on crime dramas on television. Sheriff, everyone's, this is my case. Stay away, stay away. So that's not true, right?
It's not true. And I think agencies in the past used that kind of territory is just say, hey, this is mine. But when everyone's facing, issues with recruitment and retention, utilize each other's resources. And I think that's the biggest thing that we see in current times is, we're all struggling to get people. So we can be each other's force multiplier. And it doesn't matter where you're at in the state, as long as each and every agency is communicating and talking back and forth and sharing information, we can get positive results.
Detective Cole, when you were speaking, I was like, wow, that's got to be, 5 burglaries, one right after the other has to be really unusual for Elk City, but it might be unusual for Oklahoma County as well, but so that hits you. Was that unusual for you to have to deal with?
Very, very.
And so when you first see the video, he's pretty covered up.
Yes.
What was your first thought? Like, I'm going to get this person, or I don't know what I'm going to do.
My first thought was he's not from here. So I knew, that being said, it was a start because I knew.
How did you know that?
It was unusual for this type of burglary to occur. And the way it had happened just within a couple hours span, there was a purpose. It was get in, get out, go to the next. And it just didn't seem like this is something it's not something we see. So I didn't see this as being a local thing. And I was correct. So.
Yeah. Did you have, so I want to ask you, how long have you been in law enforcement?
I'm coming on 10 years.
10
right
years.
after.
Social media, new era of communication. You guys watch each other's Facebooks or social media platforms?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So instead of picking up the phone and call, because that's searching for a needle in a haystack, right? We've had
what I thought.
Who else do I call? This gets the word out to everyone, and you guys keep an eye on each other.
Correct. So that being said, we had some of my patrol officers as well was also searching the different Facebook posts. We had a couple different crimes, one in Missouri and one also in Wyoming, that was the same MO. So I made phone calls to those to try to see if these also were connected. And it's a possibility that we have other states to include the one in Fort Smith, Arkansas.
I don't know how the agencies or the investigators would connect those dots, because there's so many dots out there. Really is like a lot of research, I guess, on your part as well.
Resources. We have resources. We have each other. We have the OSBI Fusion Center. We have different resources that we use, and communication. Going to different trainings and being able to network with each other is huge.
All right, Chief, I want to come to you. I want to talk about, is there a disconnect between rural and urban agencies? First of all, I'm going to start with just that question, or does it matter?
Maybe back in the day, but now we're so interconnected. I don't feel like there is a disconnect unless it's on purpose. You get someone who doesn't want to know what, they cocoon themselves into their own job and are happy with that. We are not. Vanessa hit on the Fusion Center. That's now under the Department of Public Safety. That puts out information on crimes and criminals, wanted persons. That's one area of information getting out there. Of course, we have the Amber Alerts for children. We have the Silver Alerts for the seniors. But Facebook is the gold mine.
Yeah. And I'm going to toot our own horn. OETA has the infrastructure that those alerts go out on, for tornadoes or Amber Alerts or Silver Alerts.
Sure.
So that is, I'm sitting at home and I know at 8:30 p.m. that a child has gone missing in Ardmore. And I think that's wonderful. The technology has led us far, but Chief, you also talked about events that really changed maybe the operational mindset of law enforcement personnel, urban, rural, everywhere, to work together because lines are being crossed now more than ever. And I don't know. Do you look at social media platforms yourself, or?
A few. The detectives are a whole lot better at Facebook than I am.
You don't
I'm
have a
not.
TikTok account?
No, I don't.
Mess
No,
with me.
I have. Anyway, I won't even get into that.
Yeah, some law enforcement agencies do, and for public consumption, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, even in the metro areas, I worked in Harrah for 22 years, worked closely with Oklahoma County, Choctaw, all the neighbor agencies, Shawnee. We had very good relationships with them because we had built those and guarded those. We kind of knew a few to stay away from because they didn't have the same concepts that we did about teamwork. But usually those guys don't last very long. And I think cooperation in today's world is the most informed and the best that it's ever been.
Then we're going to go to the sheriff right now. And I want to ask you, is there any federal aid, state aid? You mentioned the Fusion Center, and we have done stories on that. And it's a great aid to law enforcement. What's the next step as far as you're concerned?
As far as my concern, I mean, we monitor things like JTTF or Joint Terrorism Task Force and publications that they put out. But the one thing when you're talking about how we keep our area safe here locally, I mean, the chief has hit on every topic. You have to have teamwork. We have to share information. I think the things from the last question you asked, what could really change? Our CAD systems, our reporting systems, being able to share those with all the agencies, municipalities, and sheriff's office, because we're on so many different systems, and I get it, but the ability to connect and to link cases together across the state, I think would be something that would really, really push us into the future and would really expand that network that is being created, that was created in the past, that we're trying to continue, like the chief said, to protect now.
All right. Sheriff, I want to stay with you real quick. How often does Oklahoma County hear from other agencies?
We hear all the time. I keep tooting the chief's horn, but I mean, he is so correct. You have to invite that. You have to welcome those partnerships. That is something that I believe starts at the top. And when leaders say, hey, we don't know it all, but we want to work with everyone so we can do the best for our communities, because Oklahoma is the community we're trying to protect. Yes, I'm here at Oklahoma County, but if something affects someone in Elk City and we have information, we should share that. And I believe vice versa all across the state. And I just think if we keep this route, if we keep this pace and where we're going, Oklahoma, there's a reason why it's the most protected state in the nation.
And Chief, how often do you hear from other agencies about crimes going on in their area that they think you might have information about?
Well, it's back to the information and how we get it. We are almost nowadays on information overload. Mm-hmm. And so we have to filter out what is usable, what's not, what's noise, that sort of thing. Daily, I would say daily. Maybe it's a traffic stop, maybe it's a long-term investigation, ICAC. It's everyone everywhere. And we often.
Do you need more people?
There's not an agency in the world that doesn't need more people. But I will say we've had more people now than we ever have. Our city commission has been super good to us, super good, buying us the best equipment available.
Wonderful.
The other thing is personnel selection. We don't settle. We will leave a slot open for, I don't care how long, until we find the right person for that position. I would also like to give the sheriff a big plug. Oklahoma County is one of the most forthcoming available assisting agencies I've ever worked with, and I've worked with them for many, many, many years.
Well, it is clear that there is not only a working relationship, but a relationship period between Oklahoma County and Elk City, and I'm sure that's the case for other jurisdictions. Detective, I'm going to give you the last word. We are running out of time, but what would you like to say about the state of affairs of interdepartmental communication between law enforcement agencies in Oklahoma?
I think that the main goal is to continue the communication. continue the networking. And it doesn't matter if you're one of the little communities, if you're one of the bigger communities, as long as we keep that communication open, we can help each other and we can do this together.
All right. I'd like to thank all of you for protecting and serving and for spending your time and sharing your insights with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the story.